I find the darkness to be quite beautiful.
Hey, it's Kristen, and today we're chatting with Carlson Young, writer, director, and star of The Blazing World that just premiered at Sundance Film Festival. You originally premiered The Blazing World at Sundance back in 2018 as a short film. So where did the inspiration for this project come from, and what made you want to expand the story into a feature?
Yes, it was a short in 2018. I always had the idea for the feature iteration, and got the advice to make it into a short first, or no one would let me direct it. And I really wanted to direct this story. So I made it into a short first. And then, from there, it was half of just intense script development and distilling it and getting the script into a place where it was like bare bones dipped in vinegar. And that was a process, but I wanted to make it into a feature because this is the statement that I wanted to make as a director. This is what I like. These are my sensibilities. This is what I'm capable of doing with a small budget.
You really just created this world that is so, it's like a surreal rabbit hole. It's like this neon decayed visuals. It's so beautiful. How did you land on that aesthetic?
It's what I love. When I started writing years ago, I thought constantly about write what you know and then make what you want to see. So these kind of psychedelic horror pieces of art are what I love. And so I wanted to make something that I'd click on at home and be like, this is dope, So immediately that's where my head goes when I'm kind of dreaming up what I want to make. But more than that, I just feel like marrying style and substance is a sweet spot, and it's something I really tried to do through Margaret's journey and her struggle with depression. Another reason why I wanted to make it really visually striking was because I find the darkness to be quite beautiful as well. And so, even though there are some kind of insidious and evil demons lurking about in the film, they're all very intoxicating, and the scenery is beautiful. So you actually want to go into it versus, kind of other horror thrillers that are kind of gross. And so I wanted to fight against that.
You filmed this during the pandemic, so did that hinder or even help with certain things that you wanted to achieve?
Yeah, look, we rolled into pre-production early March, and then the world shut down. So we had to really regroup and come up with a firm, hard and fast plan. And the pandemic altered the movie significantly, honestly, because we had a very limited crew and we had limited resources. But once we found our hero location, we kind of knew we could do it. And so, I just went back into the script and reworked a few sequences and took us out of the real world and into a more contained environment. And I do think, yes, you're right. I think that the claustrophobic energy actually, works for Margaret's journey.
That's really cool that you're kind of able to take the experience that we're dealing with and it sort of kind of is infused in this film in a way.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, where is everybody? I'm alone.
I'm also curious about how the cast came together for this.
I wrote Leonid for Udo Kier. So he was the first actor that we attached, which was beyond exciting. I was so lucky to be able to get to work with him as a first-time director. He's a legend. So that was incredible. And then Dermot and Vanessa, became a part of the conversation, and the producers and I talked about them, and they were just perfect. Cause for me, it was Dermot, I was genuinely curious to see him in this role, and the same for Vanessa. And I geek out for Vanessa, for Eyes Wide Shut. So I'm so lucky that I got to work with such amazing actors for my first feature. And then John Karna is one of my best friends, and Soko is an artist that I admire as well. So it was great to cast.
So many of us have grown up watching your work as The Bell Rings, Scream, your recent appearance on Emily in Paris. And with The Blazing World, you're wearing so many hats. You're starring in it, you're writing it, you're directing it. How has your background helped you when it came to bringing this project to life?
You know, I've always participated as an actor in the things that people would open the door for me for. I always tried to make it my mission to do the best that I could in those spaces. But The Blazing World is the first time I've gotten to express myself creatively. And, you know, I feel like all of that TV work that I've done, you know, growing up on TV sets prepared me in an immeasurable way for wearing all the hats on Blazing World. And I've carefully observed film sets and the little ecosystem and well-oiled machine that they are. So I think the best experience anybody can get is on-set experience, whether you're an actor or a PA or a gaffer, you know. I knew how it worked, and I also prepared to high heaven. So, and just kind of hoped for the best.
Absolutely. Have you ever had to face any difficulties in the industry, especially getting started as a first-time female director? And I don't know if you may have any advice for other aspiring creatives.
It's hard. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But as a woman, it's like, you know, certain doors are, you have to open them and you have to throw your back into it because they're not going to open for you. Like, you're not going to just like politely knock on the door and then it's going to open nice and easy for you. You have to really fight for these things. So anyone who's passionate about what they're making, I just think just to pursue it full force and just not take no for an answer. And I think that's a little bit, that's an adjustment as a woman, the way I was raised, to be polite and kind and, you know, accommodating. And it's like, you can't do that. You know, you have to fight.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I feel like that's something all women can relate to. It's so hard sometimes to be like pushing for what you want.
There's a feminine way to do that, you know, with grace and kindness, and you don't have to be an asshole about it, but to respect your work and respect yourself enough to fight for it.
I'm curious if you had any favorite scenes to film, or even some scenes that you found really difficult to film.
The neon box scene, the final sequence in The Blazing World, was a really challenging one for me to shoot because I had so much work on my plate as an actor to sell in that final moment. The rest of it, I make energy maps and story maps and just kind of, you know, prepare. All of the other scenes I'd prepared so much, but that final one, which is what the entire movie hinges on, was something I had to really dig inside of myself. And it was very cathartic because I felt like I was shedding off years of just intense work on this film. So that one was challenging.
What are energy maps?
There's storyline, and then each character has an energy. And obviously, with Margaret, the second that she goes into the bathtub, then from there, it's kind of this downward spiral where you're just going, where she's retracing this broken neural pathway and the broken one from her childhood, that for the particular moment at the beginning of the film. And so, I was trying to directly correlate like what energy you have the deeper you go into your subconscious. So each character lends itself to how much oxygen she has in her brain. And like if people seem weird and off, like, I mean, I did mean it to be that way. Like you said, I was wearing a lot of hats, so I did it to keep myself sane and straight and keep myself honest.
That's so interesting just to hear like this different process, you know, how you dove kind of deeper in with all of these characters. What do you hope people take away from this project, especially in terms of mental health and sort of dealing with trauma?
Yeah. For me, like, radical acceptance has been something that's like constantly falling on me recently. Depression and grief and suicidality and all of these things that this movie is about are really, really heavy things. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and out of the suffering, the miracle arises, which is light and love. And at the end of the film, I don't want to say a spoiler of my own movie, but the way that Margaret reframes the trauma at the very end of the film is like a 2-degree shift that potentially can take her to a different continent, which is one of happiness and not intense depression. So I just hope that people, maybe can see a parallel there in their own life. And if not, that's cool too. But just self-reflection is a thing I think everybody is doing right now.
If you like this one, you can check out more of my Sundance coverage right over here, and I'll catch you in my next one. See ya.